Would you want Mention to come and sit here now?
Yes, you can finish her now. Yes, if she's all good and ready to go. If you see me, you can see chairs. And see next to me.
Okay, then just come and take up the seat.
Hello, everyone. Just testing my audio. Are you hearing me clearly?
Loud and clear from this end.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, great.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Well, I've got 5 minutes. So we've got 5 minutes. What's that?
Wonderful. Well, we're ready to go. Naika, you'll give us the cue. Naika, we can't hear you, okay, if you're speaking.
Oh, we're live. Go ahead.
To either people or a real public not a faith one, which is the second town hall meeting held in London today. My name is Rosemary King and I'm a member and a donor of the UIC, and I sit on the UIC committee. I'm a mother of 3 and have 7 grandchildren. My late parents are Jamaican and I have a brother and family members still living there and who are very close to and keep a close connection with. I'm very passionate about what happens in Jamaica, and I believe that the UIC political party is the saviour for Jamaica today. And this is the second town hall meeting. We have 6 speakers and 6 speakers and 1 keynote speaker. So first, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Mr. Ventit Brown, who is going to speak about what is a constitution. But before I introduce, say a little bit about him. And Ventit is a member of the UIC and sits on the UIC's constitutional committee. He's also a solicitor and high courts and advocate who specialises in litigation. He's a businessman and a social entrepreneur with a keen writer and musician. So I'd like to welcome Mr. Ventit. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and for those abroad, I guess it's the afternoon. What is a constitution? A constitution is a set of principles and rules by which a country is organized and governed, and it is generally found or contained in one document. We can have superior laws and ordinary laws. Superior laws are those which require, on average, a 2/3 majority. Ordinary law is one that requires a simple majority. What type of constitutions are there? Jamaica has a monarchical and parliamentary constitution, which also defines its governance model. There are other types, presidential and parliamentary, federal, as in America, unitary constitutions, just like the UK, where absolute power is vested in Parliament. not the Queen, not the King. We also have Victorial states. We in the UIC believe we should do away with the office of the Governor General and Prime Minister and elect one leader. A presidential style parliamentary democracy, which would be cheaper than having a Prime Minister and ceremonial president with no real powers, checks, or balances. It wasn't until 1962 that Jamaica first had its first constitution. That constitution had been amended over the years, most recently in 2015. Do you know your constitution? Well, I'm going to tell you, actually, only in summary, what it contains. There are 10 parts. Each part defines a particular area. It covers fundamental rights and freedoms, the Governor General, Parliament, the executive powers, the judiciary, finance, public service, and the miscellaneous section which covers the powers of the Commission. So why did Jamaica, after 61 years, want to remove the Queen, now King, as head of state? When we cannot find the word monarch in the Constitution, it's because all the powers, all the acts of Parliament, every law that is created in Jamaica, except for 4, have to use a particular set of words. I'm going to tell you what those words are. It is set out under section 61 of the words of enactment under the Constitution of 1962, which states that every bill presented to the Governor General for approval shall be enacted by using the following words: by the Queen, the most excellent Majesty, now King, by which advice and consent of the Senate and the House of Representatives of Jamaica, we hereby pass the following laws. For many Jamaicans, they have been saying, but she doesn't live here. Why should we be honoring a Queen and a King? I would say to you, it's because the Jamaican Constitution was not created for you, and it shows that the Jamaican people are still not free. We in the UIC think this should change, and all of the people in Jamaica should have the right to a fair society. You will notice what is missing in this constitution. There is nothing enshrined that guarantees access to beaches. There is nothing in this constitution that guarantees Jamaicans the right to land. And this is something which the UIC wants to change with your help, with your support. The UIC's constitution sets out one Jamaica, united, strong and free, non-partisan constitutional republic of Jamaica, not divided by class or party, true republic that protects the life, liberty and property rights of all citizens equally, where everyone may live in a safe, clean and ordinary society. We challenge the state not to initiate force or use fraud against the citizens of Jamaica. We hold that all individuals have the right to exercise sole dominion over their lives, bodies, and properties, provided it does not forcibly interfere with the rights of others. And this is why we believe in the Constitution set out by the UIC. I'm not going to be much longer because I know that there are other speakers wanting to have their say. But I quickly want to mention who should decide what goes into the Constitution. Currently at the moment, both the JLP and PNP do not want the Jamaican people to have their say. This is clear. It should begin with a decision on how many draft constitutions should be put to a referendum to the people. At the moment, we have none. Secondly, the group that should sit on the committee should be open to public scrutiny, and the public should have a right in nominating who those individuals should be. And finally, in terms of how long the process should take, on average, it can take between 4 to 6 months, provided the people have indicated what particular laws they wish to have. And I would be saying that not squatting that they are the Jamaica are willing to correct this.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Native. So our next speaker is Clyde Morrison, and he's going to be speaking about enough is enough. But just before I bring him on, I'll just tell you a little bit about him. Clyde Morris is a community activist, a formerly elected member of Enfield Council Labour Party. He shares the same birthday as Stephen Lawrence and part of the generation that can speak of institutional racism. He is a political renegade, a trailblazer, motivated into politics by the late Bernie Grant. Clive has served in all mainstream political parties except the Conservative. His notoriety is associated with him by joining the Nigel Farage, the UKIP party, to take UK out of the EU, causing an earthquake. He's actively involved in the 1 million, 2 million anti-vaccines COVID-19 march throughout London. He was the person drumming in the bandstand at the Sarah Everard vigil that left the genius. Is associated with the spiritual awakening of a warrior queen, Sasha Johnson. His father and grandfather has served over 20 years as a foster carer and a champion advocate for young people. He was born in the parish of St. Thomas and see his strength as knowing the blood of Paul Bogle runs through his veins. He came to England in December '69, a member of the Uic generation, and now wants to retire back in his community home in Jamaica. He has joined the UIC to cause an earthquake, to wake up the people and empower them to free them. His tag name is to Ras, Enough is Enough, which he owns intellectual property to. Now let me introduce Mr. Clive Morrison. Thank you.
Thank you for that introduction. I feel honored to be around the table and welcome Mr. President of the UK. And myself to you, the listeners out there, I'm indeed honored that we are at a crossroad and a journey which we all need to share in order to make the difference which is now necessary. It has been said, my name is Clive Morrison and I am of the Winner's generation. Now, where I am presently, my concern is for the current state of affairs in regards to the Jamaican Constitution. Myself, as one of the Winner's generation who came to this country in December of '69, my concerns are directly related to the inappropriate constitution we accepted from former colonizers of the British Empire. The essence of that document embedded in the colonial British philosophy in Jamaica, I believe, was founded on colonial exploitation, classism, and racism of the masses. This classism prevails today and is practiced, unfortunately, now by the very people who were once discriminated against on their own fellow Jamaicans. The retention of the Queen over the past 70 years, and now King as head of state represented by Governor General, has maintained the status for a relationship of a master and servant mindset. Clearly, this must end. Current government pronouncement by JLP, PNP suggests that the Constitutional Reform Committee will end the monarchy status here in. The Constitution provisions has made the citizen powerless except for an election every 5 years or less. Following elections, the people of Jamaica, except for the ruling class, which includes the upper echelons of the private sector, are dictated to by those elected assuming power instead of responsibility. The worst affected are the poor, who are predominantly Black and of African descent, who by no fault of their own lack the education to enable them out of poverty trap. As far as law and order, many or most of the recent laws passed and enacted are intended to administer additional benefits that again impact the same already burdened class. The majority, if not all of the former British colonies that have accepted the Westminster model constitutions have had tremendous difficulties in governance, in part because of the corruption it has rammed down their throat by our slave masters' representatives. The Jamaican Constitution does not empower its people. The Council the Jamaican Constitution does not empower its people. The Privy Council, the ultimate law over our land, testified to this. Our civil rights are violated, our land rights are corrupted, law and order is determined by your financial means. Major portions of the inadequate document need to be redrafted completely to focus more on the well-being and development of Jamaicans, especially those who live below the poverty level. A change of governance structure of the constitutional monarchy and the enactment of the British Westminster model in Jamaica to a unitary republic with a head of state and government as a president, prime minister is leading. This suggestion will remove the requirement for a governor general, removing the British monarchy as the head of state. For health and safety, we should envision a Jamaican-based government model that is designed to emancipate our people's mind from the mental, colonial, exploitative legacies still present within Jamaica. The government should work towards improving preventative care, health promotion initiatives, and environmental protection. All elected persons should be subjected to recall by the people on submission of appropriate supporting evidence. This measure should ensure that elected officials remain accountable to their constituents throughout their term. Their skill set also should represent the post. The two-headed beast. Now, Jamaican politics, a recycling bin of PNP and JLP. This constitutes two heads of the same beast, with no real opposition. Social media advocates like Mr. Wayne Knowles, Mr. Andre Stevens, Open Mind, Mr. Jeffrey Tabrez, Mr. Will Rattigan, Jamaican Caller, Soul Flow TV, Tea Time Shellyan, and Mr. L.A. Lewis, to name a few, and the diaspora, particularly in the UK, have a duty to this generation to recognize we must not allow the rope to be extended for another 400 years. The two head of the beast have us on a roundabout in opposite directions without an exit. Apathy. The facts are, people with integrity are turned off from politics due to the fact that some people will always get a position due to the loyalty syndrome, no matter how stained their character is. I am aware that sometimes people want to reward people in their respective parties out of loyalty. But apathy, it's time for us to realize that the voting public are turned off, turned away. The UIC have raised eyebrows regarding these characters. Some PNP, you might say, as well as JLP, should not even be allowed to sit on the committee, much less enter the race to be a candidate. Jamaica has lost billions of dollars over the years due to corruption. And if we are serious about advancing this country, we have to put our money where our mouth is. Look beyond party line and say, UIC, I see you stretch out your hand and in hand for one Jamaica. Stronger we are, or together we are stronger in unity, and enough is enough.
Thank you, Clive. Thank you for that. So our next speaker is Mr. Winston Wright, and he's the UIC chairman. I've just got a little synopsis about him for those in England who don't know him. So Winston is a Harvard tree and a 23-year veteran of aviation with regional reputation for success in airport and airline operations. He's trained aviation safety professional with over 15 years as an aviation firefighter and holds the FAA certificate in the field. He's a former trade unionist and through the years has worked as a life insurance underwriter for ordinary long-term and equity-based products, as well as freelance journalist, photographer. So Winston, are you ready? And over to you.
If I can interject, I would just like to say, to Mr. Patterson, welcome to England. We've got to say we are pleased with you. We can get to it later. Who's used to that?
Winston.
I heard some person saying they can't hear us clearly online. Has that been addressed? Can you all hear us clearly? Mr. Neil, can you hear us clearly?
You're coming through a bit warbled, but I'm hearing every word.
A bit warbled, okay. Let's try somebody else. Naika, can you hear clearly?
It's the same for me. Sounds a bit choppy, but I can hear you.
So we had clarity before we went live, but now we don't have clarity that we have gone live. But we'll try to see if we can speak up louder, but it seems as if we're affected by the internet maybe. Maybe we'll have too many on the bandwidth at this point in time. All right, we'll continue to go along and see if we can get better. It says no garble, couldn't hear the previous speaker. Yeah, that is not so happy. All right. Well, let's carry on and see if we can get any better. I think Winston has dropped off. I'm not seeing Winston on anymore. Maybe his connection failed.
Okay, then we'll come back to Winston. So Chase, we'll go on to you, Chase. Just let me talk about you. Give a little bio about Chase. So Chase Neal is UIC VP for Cornwall County. Chase is a trained life coach and teacher of high school English language and literature. He's currently employed as an online English tutor, freelance touch therapy life coach, and school weekend relief watchman. He is the son of early childhood teacher and retired basic school principal, then Desna Thompson Neal, and the late Fitz Neal, who was a master craft artistry technician and retired teacher of art and craft and Spanish. So that's Chase for you. So Chase, would you like to take over?
All right, thank you, Rosemary. Is everyone hearing me clearly?
Yes,
okay, I hope I'm not warbled. All right, so I'll be speaking on good or bad governance. And as we know that governance is really the act or process of governing, it is good for us to look at what are the roles of government, what is the purpose of government. So I'll begin with that. Now, there are some quotations I took from the internet. There is this site, studentsofhistory.com, that says, governments are responsible for making and enforcing laws, collecting taxes, providing public goods and services, and representing the interests of the people. Well, governments may be organized in various ways, such as democracies, monarchies, autocracies, and other forms of government. Now, the purpose of government is to ensure the welfare and the security of the citizens and to provide a framework for the orderly functioning of society. So this is from Students of History And there's another explanation of what government is supposed to do from the Elgin Independent School District. Says a government's basic functions are providing leadership, maintaining order, providing public services, providing national security, and providing economic security. So basically, we see where the purpose of government really is to ensure our right to our life, and that's where national security comes in, our right to our property, which is where the government's function of economic security comes in, and the right to our freedoms. And this is really stated beautifully in the UIC's philosophy, which may be found on uicjamaica.com. And our philosophy is, it is the natural right of every human being to be free. Therefore, the only moral justification and rightful purpose of government are to protect your life, liberty, and property. Good governance, therefore, is a system that protects the individual's liberty, promotes personal responsibility, and provides all citizens with a safe, clean, and orderly society. This is the only sure foundation for a truly great and prosperous nation. Now, based on this definition of government and what government is supposed to do, ensure our freedoms, ensure the protection of ourselves, of our lives, and our property, the question I posit to you, and this is a rhetorical question really. In the UK, in Jamaica, based on your experience, do you have good governance? Now, we're going to be looking at what is good governance as opposed to what is bad governance, and really, how does it demonstrate? Now, if there's no protection of life, we will see what is being experienced in Jamaica now. A lot of murders, people losing their lives willy-nilly. We'll see robbery, and that's loss of property. We'll see government randomly taking people's rights to travel, to associate, as what happened for 2 years, beginning with the 2020 so-called pandemic. Now, these instances are not good examples of good governance. And we'll go to an article that describes good governance and bad governance before we continue the discussion. Now, from an online journal, there's a description of good governance as a system of governance that ensures economic efficiency, guaranteeing economic stability throughout a nation. I don't think we need to go any further as to whether Jamaica has good governance or bad governance based on that definition of good governance, because we see no economic stability in Jamaica as a country or for individual Jamaicans. Now, this economic efficiency can only be brought about by the observance of transparency, accountability, and integrity in all areas of public life. And we know that bad governance is the opposite of that. Where there's the absence of transparency and good governance, then we see where there are a lot of conflicts and confusion in the public life and in society, in the highest echelons of government down to the lowest level of where the citizenry is. Now, all of our problems as a nation can be attributed to the fact that those who were elected to ensure that the affairs of the country run properly have not been doing so. And this has happened because the climate, the environment for our elected officials to work in our best interest was not assured, was not ensured by the Constitution and by the laws that come from the Constitution and the type of government that is based on the Constitution. Some persons may argue that Jamaica as a small country, or Jamaica because of its peculiarities, cannot be governed properly or cannot be governed the way that we want, because there is a view from certain members of society that this is the best that we can have, that things can get better. But what I want to do is draw a comparison between Jamaica and countries who in the early 1960s, when they got their independence, were in similar or worse conditions and now have become more prosperous as a result of good governance. And two examples are Singapore, which got its independence on August 9, 1965, and Rwanda, which, although it has not reached where we want it to reach in terms of the human development, it is leagues ahead of Jamaica and many other African countries. And they got their independence on July 1, 1962. Now, why did Singapore and Rwanda become so prosperous? There is an article that answers that, how Singapore became one of the richest places on earth, on NPR.com. It says, this article was written in 2015, Singapore has been called the 20th century's most successful development story. And Linda Lim, an economist, says, I don't think any other economy, even the other Asian tigers, have that a good statistical record of rapid growth, full employment, with very good social indicators like life expectancy, education, housing, and so forth in the first 20 years. But how did Singapore get to achieve this? Singapore has little land, according to this article, and no natural resources. Imagine that. They have very little land and no natural resources. But after its independence in 1965, the former British colony was transformed into a major manufacturing and financial center.
Okay, sorry, Chase, just want to say you'll be running out of time, so you can kind of.
Okay, all right. Okay, great. Now, the secret to Singapore's success: low taxes, few capital restrictions, and liberal immigration policies. Now, Singapore got very successful because of the policies that the government followed, which was really based on those policies by Lee Kuan Yew. Rwanda, which gained its independence in 1962, like Jamaica, is now termed the Singapore of Africa. They have launched their own satellites. They're producing mobile phones, and the people have a higher human capital index than Jamaica. Why? Because the president and the government have been following policies that are better for the people. And these policies are affected by the laws that are in these countries. So other countries that have been in our same situation and worse than us have done it. And we can do the same if we only look at the policies that run Jamaica. I thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Chase. Thank you for that. Is Mr. back online or no? Okay, so what we'll do now, we'll move on to our other speaker, and his name is Gareth Barnett, and he is one of the UIC candidates for Kingston. And Gareth is going to be speaking about repeating history. So Gareth, you there? You unmute, Gareth.
Winston and Parker.
Good evening, Gareth.
I don't think you're hearing us.
Okay. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Are you hearing me now?
Yeah, Winston, yes, we're waiting for Gareth. Gareth is going to be speaking next, and then I'll come back to you after.
Wonderful.
Okay. Gareth?
Let's go ahead with Winston and so and have maybe you can speak to Garth Barnett behind the scenes and
Okay,
get his attention.
okay, so Mike, can you just link in with Gareth and see what the issue is? All right, Winston, we're gonna move to you now. So Winston,
If you're ready for me, that's fine. I can go ahead now.
okay, so Winston, you're going to be speaking about reform or replace, and Winston is the vice chairman. So go ahead, Winston. I've already given your bio, so I'm not going to give it again.
Thank you, Member Rosemary. Good afternoon to the table, Mr. President, Member Morrison, Member Brown, to the NEC members joining us online, and to the viewership on a whole. Let me firstly apologize for failing to take to the airwaves when first introduced. As soon as Member King was finished introducing me, the entire internet connectivity was lost on all my devices. I'm not sure what had happened there, but I'm back online and back with you. Now, the matter of reforming or replacing Jamaican constitution, or what is referred to as a constitution, but is actually an order in council, just another piece of legislation, handed to us by our colonial masters, is what I'd love to speak to you about. Now, in understanding what is happening, we first need to understand the language of what is being purported. And firstly, the government in its pursuits have indicated that they will reform the supposed constitution that we have reformed. And what does that mean? To make an improvement, especially by changing the structure of something. That is the dictionary's definition of a reform. So in other words, to make an improvement. That is firstly admitting that there is improvements to be made. But at the same time, they continue the deception by failing to indicate genuinely to Jamaicans that this is not a real constitution. It acts as, but was not contrived as one. Now, let's look at replace. And we all know that the UIC is in favor of replacing the constitution. The definition will tell you why. Replace, to take the place of something or to put something in place of something else. It sounds confusing, but it simply says, put something else in place of. So we know the current document that is purported to be a constitution isn't a genuine one. So the UIC is indicating, has definitively stated that it will replace that. What does that mean? A genuine constitution will come in place to replace the fraudulent one. So that's the language that we need to be clear on when it comes to reform or replace. The choice by the government is to reform. And the biggest signal of that is the Constitution Reform Committee that they have created. And it's clear in its nomenclature, and now we are clear by virtue of its execution. This reform committee has been, one, constituted secretly, and by secretly, the public was not introduced to the prospective members and given a chance to vet them based on their credentials and look at potential biases. We have seen where special interest has already seeped into this process, where members were added to the council because of particular leading. I'm seeing someone indicating that there's no audio. Are we good? And or end, Mr. Moderator?
We can hear you clearly here, yes.
Wonderful. So the Constitutional Reform Committee is meeting secretly, taking steps on behalf, or reportedly on behalf of the Jamaican people, to craft the reform to the current colonial document referred to as the Constitution. In this, there is no broad-based consensus or appeal to the public to say this is what we want to do on your behalf. But what we will get from this reform committee at the end of their deliberation, however they deliberate, whatever the influences are, is a final document that says, hey, here's your constitution. Do you vote to have this as your constitution and become a fake republic? Or do you wish to remain a constitutional monarch? That will be the catch-22 that the people of Jamaica will face. I see Ray Chen with the hand up. Mr. Chen, well, I'm not the moderator. I think there will be a question and answer session.
There will definitely be questions and answers after all the board speakers have spoken. So,
Right.
Ray, hold on to your question and we'll come to you at the end.
Now, UIC has been strident in making sure that Jamaicans are informed as to what is happening, the actual direction in which we should be looking to, and the way to engage the public. For example, our press release on the matter is simply this. The United Independence Congress of Jamaica recognizes the Andrew Holness-led administration's attempt to skip crucial steps in the consultation process as they seek to rope the nation into another colonial-style constitution. The UIC has no choice but to label this exercise as fraudulent, as the government telegraphs an offshoot of the 1962 Order in Council, or so-called constitution. And when we get Brother Guard on, he will speak more about the 1962 legislation that we refer to as the constitution. And he will draw that parallel for us that shows us how similarly the process was then as it is being followed now. The UIC is transfixed on having the nation progress to a new system of governance, one that is mature and modern in its structure and effectively balanced in its operations. It is more than a flaw to have a so-called constitutional reform committee selected and functioning before the full terms of reference were presented to the public of Jamaica. And a reminder, again, sorry for the interruption, I'm seeing.
We can hear you, we can hear you, Winston, we can hear you. We'll let you know if we can't hear you, we can hear you.
Okay. So we can see where before in terms of reference, guiding document to guide the committee before members of the committee were presented, our prospective members were presented to the people of Jamaica to be vetted, for people to be familiar with their body of work, with their resume. There is already a committee operating and functioning. UIC has pointed this out as a major flaw from the start. And if you have a flawed start for anything, it will end up being flawed at the end. So we have to call this out, point out to the people of Jamaica, not the government, because the government under this particular system is not responsive to the people. It is we, the people, that will need to stand up, highlight this flaw, and demand proper representation to be heard in this process. And the UIC is heralding that, and we're asking any other civic group in a non-partisan way who wish to join this effort to do so. The UIC is open to your support in this matter.
Thank you.
Now,
Thank you, Winston. So we're going to go back to Gareth. Gareth, are you there? Yep. And Gareth is going to be speaking about repeating history. So Gareth, if you can unmute. Can you hear me, Gareth?
Oh,
Good.
everyone, I'm just hearing you now.
Okay, so if you'd like to go ahead and speak about your topic, repeating history.
Okay, I want to start off by saying that the narrative that Jamaica voted for independence is a fallacy. This is a notion which was propagated or was told to a lot of persons my generation while growing up. Also, that Jamaica became independent in 1962 is not a true statement within the context of the current ongoing discussion regarding constitutional reform. It is important that when history is being recorded, an accurate account of the proceeding is written so as to allow future generations receiving the information to have a clear understanding of what happened then, what were the mistakes, what were the ongoing discussions, to allow them to make the necessary changes and decisions where similar occurrence happened in their dispensation. The current ongoing discussion in Jamaica now regarding constitutional reform provide us with an opportunity to do just that. To look back at what happened, then what were the ongoing discussions on the matter that have took us to where we are today. Jamaica and the Jamaican people have been given a second chance at creating a constitution to suit the needs of our people in a modern society. We feel the government approach regarding the whole matter of constitutional reform or the constitutional discussion does not reflect an appreciation of past history or lack thereof. As in 1961, the government of the day was not able to have an appreciation of all the factors which have brought the government to where it was in 1962. And we had the constitution that we had. It is necessary or to take necessary action then to make the appropriate changes. We will be bound to make the same mistake if we follow the same path as in 1961. We must avail ourselves of the ongoing discussion then. What were the prevailing conditions? What were the important points then? I pause here to say that at that time, similar discussions are being we are having now, in that in 1961, when Mr. Manley brought the paper to the Legislative Council that Jamaica was going to move towards a constitutional independence, we were discussing whether or not Jamaica should move to an executive president or to stick with the Westminster parliamentary system. That discussion is ripe at this time. We need to have an appreciation of the discussion then and to look at whether or not there are similarity happens now, because we are having the same discussion here as to whether or not we need an executive president or a ceremonial president.
Okay, Mr. Gareth, can I ask you to wrap it up now with your final thought? You finished?
I didn't get that.
I'm saying if you could wrap it, if you can start closing now so that we can move on to the next speaker. Okay. Okay, what we're going to do, we're now going to move on to the next speaker. And This speaker is our keynote speaker. We're so honoured to have him here. Yeah, Mr. Patterson. I'm just going to do a bio on him for you all who have not met him or know of him before. So Joseph L. Patterson is the founder and president of the United Independence Congress of Jamaica, UIC, Jamaica's third official registered political party. He is a chartered professional accountant, CPA, with over 25 years experience in business, finance and leadership, serving clients in the Caribbean, North America and Europe. Mr. Patterson was born in Kingston, Jamaica, to Ruth Williams, a factory worker and single mother, and Joseph Patterson, an electrician and businessman. Mr. Patterson graduated from St. Andrews Technical High School and Isaac Henry Scholar to study engineering at the University of Technology. He later earned a Bachelor of Accounting Science degree at Calgary University and worked his way up to become a Director of Finance, VP Finance, CFO and CEO across the private, public and non-profit sectors. His international work experience involved over 120 countries, including Chairman of the Board of the Global Impact Investment Fund, local to the Netherlands, with over $1 billion USD invested in financial inclusion, agriculture and renewable energy to empower low-income families around the world. In addition to running his own companies, such as eSuite Jamaica, Mr. Patterson founded Yes Jamaica, a foundation that he designed to help reduce youth unemployment in Jamaica by mentoring and financing young entrepreneurs. He is married to Charlotte Macedo, his high school sweetheart, over 28 years, and they have 3 beautiful children. On the side, he enjoys tennis, basketball, and farming in particular, beekeeping and permaculture. His vision is a Jamaica that brings out the best in all its people and his mission to make it a true republic. Yeah.
Thank you very much for having me, Rosemary. My name is Rosemary, I'm ambassador to the UK to the UIC. She didn't say that. And she's also a member of our jump committee. And she's probably one of our strongest UK members. I know she competed in the gentleman for who is the number one, but I always put the ladies first. So I'm really very happy to be here in the UK. You know, I every time to do this very often. Even though before COVID, I actually traveled here once every year to deal with some client matters. I'm happy to be here. I hope you can all hear me online. Let me know if you can hear clearly. I know you're having some challenges with the microphone, and I hope you can hear me clearly. We're talking about a subject that's very dear to my heart. Very, very dear to my heart. You see, a constitution is not just a document. A constitution is not just a bunch of legal terminologies. A constitution is a transformative document that could capture the essence, the vision, the ideals, the wishes, the aspirations of a people. It should reflect what they are and what they wish to be and how we're going to get there. A constitution captures the governance model that will ensure that there's appropriate checks and balances so that those who we elect are elected to carry out the functions that will ensure we have a safe environment, a clean environment, a very orderly environment, so that all of us can achieve our optimal potential as individuals. When you have bad governance, you have many side effects, such as high crime rate, poor healthcare, lack of economic opportunities, an education system that fails more than 70% of their graduates every year. And Jamaica is suffering because we have never been able to put in place an effective system of governance. But why is this? What brought us here? Why do we struggle for the last 60 years to find our place in history as a well-governed people? I tell you why. It's very simple. All people, Black people, African people, the people who have some of the greatest biological advantages on the planet, the people who come from the most fertile lands in the world, the people who, if you look carefully at all the economic development across the planet, we, the African people of Africa who live across the world, our land has given the world the core assets it needs to create the wealth that many now enjoy. And the reason why we are where we are today is because we failed. We failed to defend our right to life, liberty, and property. We failed to stood up and to stand up for justice and truth. We failed to defend what God has given us, and we allowed a few people to take advantage of us, to capture us physically, and to capture our resources and exploit them to their advantage. And when you come to the micro element of Jamaica in this grand global scheme, you can see a trend that we need to understand very clearly and carefully. And the trend goes something like this. Some time ago, a few people came to our shores and they captured and exploited, enslaved, and ravished our people and our country. Whether you believe in the story that we were brought to Jamaica from Africa, or you are of the impression that we were already in Jamaica, the bottom line is they captured our labor, they captured our lands. And in 1834, they decided that the time had come for us to be free. And by 1838, their queen declared that we were now free in 1838 after a 4-year period of apprenticeship. But here's the trick. When they gave us that freedom, they chose not to give us the land that was stolen from our ancestors. They also chose not to pay us for the labor that was stolen from our ancestors. They did not return to us the capital, the money, which came as a result of exploiting our land and our labor. So in effect, in 1838, we received a fake freedom. Fake because you cannot be free if you don't own property. You cannot be free if all you were able to do was to go to your former slave masters and beg them a job. And that's what they gave us in 1838, a fake freedom, to say, you are now free to go and roam the street. We still own the land. We still control the economy. We still have the benefit of your labor capital. But you're now free to do what? You are free to beg a job. And we're free to pay you whatever wages we so desire. And by extension, they have figured out a model of the men's clean slavery, and it's no longer chattel slavery, but we put chains around your hands and beat you away. Now it is wage slavery, and in particular, low wage slavery. And it worked because we accepted it for 106 years until 1944. Now, let's remind ourselves why they gave us that fake freedom. They gave us that fake freedom because of people like Nanny of the Maroons, like Sam Shaw, like Paul Vogel, like George William Gordon, my good friend, Marcus Dow. Now, of course, he came out. But they gave us freedom because some of us were not prepared to stay quietly on the plantation and give our labor free. We fought back. We burned a few, we chopped up a few, and we made life difficult for many. So after a while, they decided that it was less economical to maintain chattel slavery and better well placed to come up with a new strategy. And the new strategy was give them a fake freedom, make them keep them free while we still control them economy. It worked for 106 years. They decided that it was, and then we agitated again and we burned down a few more plantations. Chop up a few more people. Made life difficult for them. And so they said we have to bring a new strategy now, because the one we have is kind of losing its effectiveness. And so in 1944, they gave us the right to vote. Them, we, the right to vote. Now remember, they told us we were free before we. So if we were free, we should have been able to vote. For who represent us and have laws for ourselves. So you know what they do. So in 1944, they reformed the system of governance. And they reformed, note that word, reform, not replace. So they reformed the system and they gave us now the right to vote in 1944. Now, when you have the right to vote, you mean that that's a democracy, isn't it? We're now democratic. But that too was a fake democracy because of two things. One, the right to vote did not come with the right to decide who your candidates are. The right to vote also came with a caveat. You would have a governor appointed by England to sit at the top, just in case the ones you elected may not carry out the intended purpose for which you allowed them to be elected. And so the governor now was still sitting at the top. And the governor could overrule any decisions that went contrary to the design of the colonial masters. Now, from 1944 to 1962, when we got independence, that system was kept in place. Why did they change it in 1962? Was anything wrong with it? Well, our people kind of realized that something was wrong with the democracy there. And so, again, the murder of people. I'm going with nothing. So there's something right as well. We don't understand the legalese. We're not too sure about what you mean about constitution or whatever, but something to feel right. I'm hungry. I suffer discrimination. I am having a hard time finding opportunities. The upward mobility was not happening with the level of rapidity that we wanted. And so we're bundling up people. And so they said, don't worry, we have something else for you. But remember, fake freedom, and now we have a fake democracy, which was called self-governance, with a foreign governor over it. Yeah? But at the very beginning of 1944 episode, something interesting happened. Between 1930 and 1944, there was this gentleman who all of us should be proud of. His name was Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Now, Marcus Garvey is a unique Jamaican. Marcus Garvey reflects what all of us would like to be. Somebody who, regardless of your limited circumstances, regardless of your inadequacy of means, regardless of the opposition that come up against you, Marcus Garvey decided to pursue change. And Marcus Garvey gave us our first grassroots political party. The first political party which was designed by and for the masses, for the poor man, for the average Jamaican, for the persons and people and groups that wanted real freedom, true liberty, That was the purpose of the Marcus Garvey political party. But our colonial friends would not allow that to happen. So they colluded with three groups. Here before. Here are the three groups. The first group of people in any country, the first group of people will be those who we call the plantocracy or the private sector elites, those who control the economy. And so the people who control the economy got together with a group of people and created two political parties. One, we know as the People's National Party, which took, for the most part, the manifesto of Marcus Garvey, whitewash it a little bit, and replay it back to us and say this is good. And then the Jamaica Labour Party, which would be the controlled opposition to make sure that no matter what happens, whether you elect PNP or JLP, the outcome will be the same. The plantocracy, private sector organization of Jamaica, the elites from that body would still control what happens. So the laws and regulations will be designed to do exactly what the colonial powers did. They always put laws in to suppress the majority and to enrich the minority. Always, all the laws, no matter what laws they come to you with and say it is to protect you, it is for your benefit, even right here in the motherland, as some people call it. Even right here, the laws, no matter how sweet it sounds, if you read carefully between the lines and pay attention to the details, that the lovely law will be used to sabotage you, to hold you back, to hold you down. And so that's what they did in Jamaica. All the laws were designed to, for example, oppress small business and protect big business. To allow minority with the capital to exploit the majority who have lacked capital. To create an education system that is free, but suppresses the mind, dwarfs the understanding, and leave you lacking the competencies you need or the understanding you need to have in order for you to change the system to work in our favor. And so, in the 1930s, they worked and they got rid of Marcus Garvey and got rid of the Marcus Garvey Party and gave us the two controlled entities that we now know and learn to accept and fought and killed each other for. They were so effective between 1944 and 1962 that they made that permanent. In 1960, they gave us independence in 1962. They ensured that they proved the concept first for 18 years. From 1944 to 62, they proved to us, to themselves rather, that this system would work the way they want it to work. And how did they want it to work? They want us to stop seeing the colonial master as our enemy, as we did back then. We all knew that the real enemy was the colonial power. And we put all of our energy and effort to fight the colonial power. But after 1940, by the time we get to 1962, our focus now was on fighting each other. That was our focus. So they succeeded in dividing us. They succeeded in using partisan politics to distract us. While we remained divided and distracted, they were able to extract our wealth from us and kept us in poverty. So what I'm going to show you now is a model of governance that will correct all of that and set us on the path to righteousness. We're going to look at how can we govern ourselves the way we want to govern ourselves, not the way they want to govern, not the way that they have taught us. Listen, if somebody robbed you, abducted you, rape you, and then come to you and give you a document and said, oh, by the way, here's how you should now live your life. would you not be very suspicious of that document? I would want to dash with that very fast. But if I say, no, sir, after what you do to me, you don't want that. But we had two political parties with two leaders who worshiped the mother, who embraced the mother, and who taught us to love and honor and reverence the monarchy and place the monarchy at the top of our constitution as our sovereign, our head of state, which means we should not have confidence in ourselves. We should not look with pride upon this dark skin because the gods are who we should worship. We could have a different skin. No, mind you, I have no problem with any race. I love people of all races, black, white, yellow, red, any color, it doesn't matter to me. Your color doesn't, because we're all human beings. But when you seek to damage my people, my race, and blight all people, that is war. That is war. So I'm not fighting you because of your race. I'm fighting you because of my race. I'm not fighting you to prove that you're less than. I'm fighting you because I know that you're no more than me. And so we have to secure our future, our assets, and provide a way for our nation to be the best it can possibly be. And so now I'm going to share with you our model of governance. And so I think our moderator online is going to allow me to share my document with you so we can go through it. So here we go. I'm now going to share. Here we go. I hope you all can see that. Let me know if you can't before I begin to not showing it. All right. Are you seeing it now? Okay, I'm sharing here, but I'm not sure what is sharing up there. All right. Yes. So maybe what's happening is Mr. Brown has to change the one in the room. Maybe he has his thing pinned at the top. Mr. Brown, he has his thing pinned at the top so that even the audience are not seeing it. I'm sharing my screen, but they're not seeing it here. So change your setting. Change your settings so that it sorry? It shouldn't. Okay. All right. Well, I'm sharing. Everybody here can see online, all the people online. Let me just check in quickly. Mr. Chase or Naika or Winston or Mr. Romans, can you confirm you can see the PowerPoint presentation?
You're good to go. Yeah.
All right. So we're just trying to help the person in the audience here to be able to see.
We're seeing it on YouTube also, sir. Both Zoom and YouTube.
Thank you so much. So the title of this slide is, or this PowerPoint presentation is A Real New Jamaica. Why do we say a real new Jamaica? Is because every now and again, politicians will come to you and tell you about a new Jamaica. So we have to preface what we're saying by new, by real, a real new Jamaica. Are we good to go? Yes, we are. Good. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Brown. All right. So before I launch into our model for Jamaica, what we're proposing as a constitutional replacement for Jamaica, I want to give you a bit of background on the UIC, so you know what our values are, you know who we are, so you understand this a bit. So I want to begin by just sharing with you our vision for Jamaica. Our vision statement from the UIC is a Jamaica that brings out the best in all its people. Why do we say that? The current system we have in place is a system that brings out the worst in our people. If you look at Jamaica from the 1960s to now, the trajectory has been one of a gradual decline in our social condition. A decline in our relationship with each other. We're now more antagonistic, we're more anti-social, we're more cruel, we're more vicious. We've gone from an average of 66 murders a year to now anywhere between 1,500 and going up to 2,000. We murder each other ourselves. You might recall in the 1980s election, we murdered 800 of ourselves in just a few weeks in that election alone. So this system is designed to bring out the worst in us, and it's working. So the UIC, our vision is a Jamaica that brings out the best in all its people. Our mission coming out of that vision is to create a non-partisan constitutional republic of Jamaica that protects individual liberty and promotes personal responsibility. All of these words are not chosen carelessly. These words mean something. Non-partisan because we want a Jamaica where we remove partisan politics as the prime mover. We're not going to get rid of parties, but we have to design a system that does not accentuate partisanship and one that really brings us together to focus on issues and solve those issues. It must be a constitutional republic because we want to make sure that it's not left up to the whims of men, but have core enshrined policies that will protect us from bad politicians and empower good politicians. So constitutional. It must be a republic, and we'll define for you what a true republic is in this conversation. And it must have two elements that is important for any developing country and any developed country to have. You must protect the liberty of the individual, and you must hold each of us accountable for our place in a society that we want to create. Our values are very important. You must know the values of the people that you're working with. What are our values? Do we espouse Christian values or Muslim values or Hindu values or atheistic values? What are the values? Well, the UIC values are very simple and cuts across all religions and all other form of organization you can have. Our values are embedded in your right to be a free man or woman. It's an individual liberty. Our values are predicated on personal responsibility, your right to be free and your responsibility to take responsibility for yourself and others. Equal opportunity, equal rights, and equal justice are our next set of core values. We must design a society where everyone has the opportunity to do well. We must design a society where all of us have equal rights and all of us are exposed to the equal justice. And for justice to be equal, it cannot be based on how much money you have. So things like those you see coming out in our constitution to protect your right to fair treatment and for that not to be dependent on how much money you have to get that fair treatment. Okay. And finally, we want a society which is safe, which is clean, which is orderly. So one of our policies you'll hear in the UIC is that when we form the government, every single community must look, smell, and feel like a tourist resort. Every community. We cannot have a society where you design nice, clean, beautiful spaces for foreigners while the people live in garbage. So we're going to address that. Our pledge captures all of what we believe as a movement. It reads as such: as one who loves my life, my liberty, and the right to earn, own, and freely enjoy my property, I pledge to respect and help to protect the life, liberty, and property rights of all others. To do my part in helping my fellow citizens create a safe, clean, and orderly society where all may live, earn, and retire with dignity in true liberty. Yeah? And where unprovoked force and fraud are abolished from all human relationships, so that we may finally become one Jamaica united, strong, and free. One Jamaica, united, strong, and free. One Jamaica, united, strong, and free. Never forget that. And so our philosophy is driven by these ideas. So our philosophy begins with a simple statement. It is the right of every human being to be free. That's what Nanny fought for. That's what Daddy Shaw fought for. That's what Boga fought for. They didn't fight for a society where some are more free than others. They did not fight for a society that would become autocratic or dictatorial. They fought for a society where every man and woman would be free, a free moral agent to choose for themselves, which means if there's a problem, like an outbreak of some kind of pandemic, while it is the duty of the government to ensure that you're informed, that you're empowered, that whatever needs to be provided to help you to protect yourself is provided, it must never give that government the power to override your right to bodily autonomy, your right to choose what to put into your body, your right to choose what medication you will take. Yes, you may make the wrong decision, but that's your decision to make. You must never have a situation where government can censor and take away your right to speak freely your thoughts on the subject or to listen to others who want to share their thoughts on the subject. You must never have a government that has the power to say they are going to block some people because they disagree with their assessment of the situation or with their suggestion for fixing the problem or with their alternative treatments that they may have come up with. Yes, those who come up with alternatives may be wrong. That's a risk we have to take and face. But we must never make that risk be the foundation for taking away the right of a man to choose, or of a woman to choose what goes into their body, and to tell them they can't travel, they can't associate, they can't go to work, they can't go to school, because you believe that what one group produced as the solution is the only solution, even if you have no scientific evidence to back that up. And if you even claim you had scientific evidence to back it up, you still have no right to take away my right to choose. It is my body and it is my choice. It is my choice. My choice. My choice. And so the UIC wants to make sure to begin the foundation of a new constitution, be embedded with these principles, that you as an individual is a sovereign creature created by your creator to have full and unequivocal dominion over you. The government may fix the road. The government may put up a street sign. The government may say green means go and red means stop and yellow means be careful. But the government must never have the right to say your body belongs to them. Whether they say it directly or indirectly, whether they use their employer or they use legislation, it is wrong, it is wrong, it is wrong. And so the UIC stands firmly on the side of defending individual liberty and personal responsibility. So, our philosophy, it is the right of every human being to be free. Therefore, the only moral justification of government is to protect the life, liberty, and property rights of every citizen equally. Good governance, therefore, is the protection of individual liberty, the promotion of personal responsibility, and the provision of a safe and orderly society. Protecting individual liberty and property rights is the only sure foundation, of a peaceful and prosperous nation. If you don't protect those, nothing else matters, because a government that can take away your right to choose It's a government that has become your master. And we don't want no more masters. Tired of them. And so we're going to give ourselves a new and powerful constitution. Must understand what we're trying to escape. And the diagram on screen shows you what we're trying to escape. We are under a system where we have colonial powers. I call them colonial masters. Whether they're China or America, it doesn't matter. Don't jump out the frying pan into fire. Don't think that BRICS is the answer. Yes, what America has now in terms of the so-called reserve currency and their fraudulent system of monetary policy is wrong. We have to mash that down. I would also go mash it down directly, we just need to take ourselves out of it. In Jamaica, we have a saying, take away yourself. All right? So we can take ourselves outside. But because that is wrong, ladies and gentlemen, but because that is wrong, it doesn't mean what China and company coming with is right. The Bible says to prove all things. What that means? It means we have to test all things, check out all things, understand what it means, understand what it affects before we just jump on color. So right now, the colonial masters set and enforce a global agenda. The purpose of that agenda is very simple. It is to enrich a few people at the expense of everybody else. That's the model for lifetime, for generations, from the Caesars, from Cleopatra, from any days of old, no matter where you go. When Jesus whipped them out of the temple, it has always been a few men and women, mostly men, and then later on women, a few men and women who believe that they should own and control the rest of it and extract their wealth from it. That's the foundation of these models of governance. And so, beginning with the understanding of the colonial masters at the top, setting the agenda, we need to understand how they work. They work through subgroups. So one of the groups they work through is called the PSOJ Organization of Jamaica. And they get the rich elites in one room together, and they plan how they're going to manage the Jamaican economy to extract the wealth of the nation while pretending to care about the people. Okay? And so Jamaica, like any other country, is controlled by a group of elites. The elites in Jamaica that control it is the PSOJ organization. And not all of them, as there are many members of the PSOJ organization, but the richest and most powerful ones. Okay? They also own the media. So what you hear on the media is shaped to give you a particular narrative and to lead you down a particular path. So they control the media. What you hear, what you learn, what you think. And if you're not careful, they'll fully brainwash you. So they own the mainstream media and they also control social media. That's why, for example, certain things that come forward, they can suppress it. And so we don't want many people to sit on it. Or they can analyze the algorithm and see the music going to, and then feed you alternatives and try to get you in a particular direction. So don't trust anyone, whether it's mainstream or social. Think about it carefully. They also control the two political parties. So the PNP and GLP does not exist without the funding of the PSOJ oligarchs. In the last election, they gave them over $300 million for just a few weeks to go and buy the votes of the Jamaican people, to go and trick up the Jamaican people and say, yeah, man, look what them powerful, them have motorcades, them have banner, they have t-shirts, yeah, man, them legit. So the people go towards them. So if we're going to overthrow that system, either people have to own our own party. That's what Marcus Garvey tried to teach me. Marcus Garvey tried to get us to own the party and not allow the rich and powerful to own the party, where they now get to dictate who our representatives are. And then they control our representatives, which are not our representatives. There's no PNP candidate that's a representative of the people of Jamaica. They represent the party, and the party represents the PSOJ oligarch. There's no JLP representative that represents the people of Jamaica. They represent the party is owned by the PSOJ oligarchs, and therefore the government of Jamaica PNP or GLP is owned by the PSOJ, who is also owned by the colonial masters. So all the votes we have been voting for the last 80 years, from 1944 until now, no matter which one you voted for, you're always voting for the PSOJ oligarchy and the colonial powers that control them. Doesn't matter which one you vote for. I know you might have liked Manley, or you might have liked Siaga, or you might have liked Bruce Golding, or you might have liked EJ, or you might have liked Portia, or you might even like Andrew, God forbid. But the bottom line is, no matter which one you like, if you dig the finger in the eat and vote for one or the other, you're voting for your own enslavement. We have to go back to Marcus Garvey and build and own our own. It must be a grassroots movement which is owned and operated by the people, must be of the people, and it must be for all the people. And that's why we created the UIC. And so this is a system we want to measure. The system they use to divide us, the system they use to distract us, the system they use to exploit us, the system they use to extract our wealth from us. To do that, we have to understand their governance model. On the screen right now, you're seeing their governance model. This is their governance model. You can tell that they don't mean you any good, because at the very top of your governance model is the monarch of England. They put as sovereign over us the king or queen of another nation. That's what our leaders put. When they gave us so-called independence, they put at the top the monarch of England as our sovereign. And then they tell us we have the right to vote. But in order for us to vote, they designed a constitution that created a government and an opposition. Let me ask you a rhetorical question, a very important question. How many of you, if you were to create a company, today, you're successful, you're a successful entrepreneur, and you have built a business, would you organize a board of governors, your board of directors? Would you split your board in two and call one government and one opposition to fight each other to run your company? No, that's ridiculous. If you did that, your company would be dysfunctional. Now let me explain something to you. A person might say, but look at other countries that have a similar system. How come they're doing so well? I submit to you a very simple response. Not one of those countries who now have a partisan system used that system to become rich. They only implemented the partisan system after they became rich, and they used it to control the masses, so that the masses never truly challenge what is behind the wealth and what is maintaining the wealth of a few. So in England here, for example, they never became rich on parliamentary democracy. They became rich through dictatorship, and they used that to go across the world and dictate it to everybody. When they went to India, did they have the people vote for government and opposition? No. They raped them, and when they were leaving, they split them in two, Pakistan and India. When they went to Ghana, did they use parliamentary democracy? No. They raped Ghana, and when they left, they gave them government and opposition. One smart man named Lee Kuan Yew in Singapore decided he was going to make sure that system doesn't take root in this country. And so he built a model, not a perfect model, but a model that undermined that system and allowed Singapore time, 25 years, to go from first world, from third world to first world in one generation. They focused on 4 things to achieve that, which we must do. Number one, you must build a system that roots out corruption from the very beginning. Number two, you must build a system that ensures people have the safety to go about building the economy. Number three, you must build an economy where the environment is clean and beautiful and pretty, because it will inspire and bring out the best in your people. And number 4, we must build a system that ensures public order, without which you cannot have an efficient and effective economy. 4 things. Anti-corruption, rooted out upfront from the top down, not from the bottom up. So don't run around and go after the little small fries and say you're trying to stop corruption. Those are the big fish. So like when the Prime Minister was caught the other day in the thing, those said, no, we're not going to prosecute. Prosecute! String him up, crucify him. And the nation will know that you're serious about corruption. That's what Singapore did. They crucified the first one of their ministers who tried to dare engage in corruption. And they set the example from the top down. And so the people at the bottom was not really serious, man. They're not going to engage in corruption because if they can do that to him, with the officer, what are they going to do with him? That's the kind of thing we need in Jamaica. We're going to root out corruption from the top down, the same thing for crime. So why don't we go out in the street, grab them and throw them in the back of police car and mash up the nickel light, whatever? Go after the masterminds. And if you cut off the head of the crime monster, you fix the crime problem alone. Cut off the politicians who are covering for criminals. Cut off the politicians who gave them the guns. Cut off the politicians who are benefiting financially from the drug for gun trade. Cut them off. And you fix the problem at the bottom. Cut off the big private sector powerful one of them who pretend as though they're wearing, they're clean with their jacket and their ties, while we know that they're tied to some serious undercurrents in our crime industry. If you do that, if you go for it from the top down, you'll quickly clean up the bottom. And so, let's look at this system here now. So as I said before, we know that we have a problem because they put the monarchy on the top. Then they gave us a partisan model. But here's the kicker in this thing. The model they put in place requires you to be funded privately, to be funded by the rich and powerful, which means if your party and your candidates are dependent on the rich and powerful to fund your campaign, then guess what happens? They own you. When they own you, they own the government. When they own the government, they own the poor people. Okay? So watch that carefully right on top. Then they made sure in this colonial one, they made sure that the Prime Minister had almost absolute power. He appoints 13 members of the Senate by himself without no regard. He just appoint 13 persons, friend and company. They just did a few of them the other day. The Prime Minister also appoints any member of the legislature on his team, on his side, one who comes from his party, to become members of parliament. What does that do? It means the MPs are beholden to the Prime Minister. And it means the senators are also beholden to the Prime Minister. And they're all a part of the same club. So now they're going to cover for each other and ensure mass corruption, which is what we suffer. Now you might say, but hold on, how come that don't happen in the UK? It happens, but to a less degree. Here's what happened. In the UK, you have many, many more parliamentarians and you have ministerial positions. In Jamaica, you only have 63. Right? And normally only a portion of them form the government, like right now about 45, and in some cases 30 something. So it means almost all of the MPs will be a minister or can expect to be a minister, even a reshuffle. So they're now tied to the Prime Minister in a way that allows him to corrupt them. Secondly, all of those MPs are serving dual functions. They're both in the executive branch, meaning they're executing policy, and they're in the legislative branch, which means they're overseeing or providing oversight or supervision of. So you have now corrupted them because you have given them a conflict of interest position where they're both executing and overseeing at the same time. So that's a problem right there. In the end, the Prime Minister controls practically all the levels of government, including impacting the judiciary. This corrupts the entire system. Now let's go to the UIC's solution. Take a good look at that chart, the UIC's chart. In this system, we begin with a constitution that does not have anybody above you. The highest and most sovereign thing in this design is the Constitution itself, which says you are sovereign. And you're going to be governed by the rule of law, not by the whims of men. So you don't have today a left-wing leader or tomorrow a right-wing leader, and they can do with you as they please. In this system, the core laws are entrenched so that whoever come in must abide by them. This system puts the citizen at the center and at the top as sovereign. It begins with every citizen being sovereign. But most importantly, it has a 100% publicly funded campaign financial system. What do I mean by that? How much time do I have left? 10 minutes. It has a 100% publicly funded system. Don't miss this. What this means is every single candidate no longer needs to belong to any political party in order to get funding. They don't have to go and beg any money from any private sector entity. You simply need to meet some core qualifications, which includes having the right knowledge and understanding of governance. So we have a program, a course called a good governance course. And in that course, anyone who aspires to be a politician may take that course free of charge. In that course, you learn good governance and get to prove your understanding of how government should work. Civics, history, statistics, all the things you will need to be able to properly function as a legislator. Okay? Once you qualify on that basis, plus age and whatever, you will now be given the same financing as any other candidate, not by virtue of money, but by a few things. Access to newspaper, radio, television, internet, town hall meetings, and debates. So let's say you have two candidates. You have Mr. Morrison here, who is rich, and you have me, and I am poor. His wealth will not give him an advantage. My poverty will not make me disadvantaged because of this model. The difference between us will be the policies and our ability to communicate them to you. You will have full access to us through the medium that I just described, and you'll be able to now elect one of us based on the substance of what we bring, not based on the amount of money that was behind us. Follow me. And so this model of governance is crucial to us eliminating big money from politics and allowing the best and brightest to come forward. They're not intimidated by the lack of money, and they're not intimidated by a party being able to manipulate them and prevent them from getting to where they need to go. Beyond that, now we're going to have some basic electoral processes. Senators, we're going to have 14 senators elected by the parishes. Right now in Jamaica, senators are appointed willy-nilly by the Prime Minister and the opposition leader, their friend and company. We're going to have an elected president, not a figurehead, not a ceremonial. We're going to have a president who is actually equipped to function and operate as the chief executive officer of Jamaica as government. We're going to have 3 vice presidents, 1 elected from each county, 1 from Middlesex and Surrey. Why? Why 3? And why have them elected separate from the president? Because they're going to be counterbalanced within the executive branch. They're also going to make sure that neither one of them can expect that they can bump off the president and become president automatically, because they don't know which of them will be. The Senate will decide that. The president and these 3 vice presidents will sit in a core executive branch that includes 2 other members. One is the general secretary, which runs with the president on the same ticket, and one is the treasury secretary, which runs with the president on the same ticket. Why? The gen sec will be somebody that will be in charge of being chief of staff and making sure all the people that we have within the executive branch of government are like your HR manager, HR director. Yeah. The treasury secretary will be your finance minister, but you'll get to see them on the campaign trail and drill them to see if you really want them to be your HR director, so to speak, and your finance minister. The 6 of them together will nominate other ministers of government. Okay? When they nominate them, they're nominating them based on job descriptions. And they must nominate persons who are qualified and competent. And they cannot nominate a senator or a legislator. Why? Because the two branches must now be separate. Those who are going to occupy the executive branch must not be a member of the Senate or the House of Representatives. Why? Because one must hold the other accountable. And they can't do it when them link up and mix up and all of that. So we're going to separate them fully. Okay? And so in the end, you're going to have now the core group led by the president nominating the best Jamaican from anywhere in the world. So if you're living in Singapore or Cairo or Accra, Ghana, and you're good, we can find you as a Jamaican, as a come home, boy, to come help us out on this thing. And you can be appointed by a process to help Jamaica grow. Now, in this process, the president with the core exec nominate you. The Senate now publicly vet you. They come in and have a public interview with the whole Jamaican and see. We can go through your resume, go through your background, ask you some questions, see if your values are aligned with us. And then the Senate makes a recommendation to the House. The House vote up or down. Right? The House are those who are elected at the different ridings or districts, or we call them in Jamaica constituencies. Okay, so we have about 228 of them. We're going to merge local government and central to make it too small cluster of people around government. So we're going to merge the two, make it a more focused and dynamic government that's going to give the people what they need, what they want. This same process of appointment will apply not just to the ministerial positions, but also to the courts. So your judges and justices will go through a similar process of transparency. We'll find the best ones from anywhere in the world, serve Jamaica. This is going to reverse the brain drain, or help to reverse the brain drain. Because if we start looking at Jamaica as bigger than just the landmass at home, then we can bring more Jamaicans into the fold, which is why the UIC is committed to giving all Jamaicans the right to vote, no matter where you live in the world. That not happen now. So we have to go home and fly back and go try to register whatever. In the new system, the UIC system, you'll be allowed to vote no matter where you are in the world. Similarly, you'll be allowed to hold any government position. Of course, you have to come home for it. No matter what citizenship you may have taken of elsewhere. Why are we doing this? Many of you who have left Jamaica or who were born in parents who left Jamaica, you are the result of economic refugee status. You were forced out of your own country because of the economic conditions, because of bad governance. So you should not be punished. We don't want to punish you because the government failed us. So we want to embrace you. We want to say, listen, if you're a Jamaican, no matter where they're in the world, no matter what other citizenship you may have acquired because you're trying to achieve the best you can, you still belong to Jamaica if you want to be, and you'll be treated as equal with all other Jamaicans, home and abroad. We can talk with that. On top of that, our policy is you must be able to return home with everything you own without feeling a sense of duty. You must not be punished because your leaders failed you. And if we're going to reverse the brain drain, you must make it very easy, very accessible, very simple, and very welcoming for you to come back home. Even if you just want to come and invest, and you're not going to come home fully, we must make it easy for you to be a part of the family. Jamaica must be more than the physical space of Jamaica. Jamaica is wherever Jamaican live. Wherever you are, you're a part of the family. One big family. Well, one big family. Remember that song? Yes. Right. So one big family. So this is the system that the UIC will be implementing when we are elected to form the government. This is the kind of constitution we are going to be. We are advocating. We will never, I can stop sharing now. We will never, and tell you this, we will never, ever, ever, ever subscribe to the continuation of the existing constitution in any form. So even if they manage to trick the people and give us a fake republic, we will not stop our fight to give Jamaica a real republic with its own constitution, a real Jamaican constitution, which is designed to be of the people, for the people, to realize the aspirations of every single solitary Jamaican citizen. And so that is the model. Have I extended my 2 minutes? I have 2 minutes. Can you believe that? And I kind of cut it short in order to be, on schedule. But so I'm going to wrap it up. I'm going to wrap it up now. I love to talk about these things today. So what are the big takeaways we get from this? Number one, I'm fully in 1838. Number two, I'm fully in 1944. Number three, I'm fully in 1962. We can't make them fully again in 2023. Madam Moderator?
Q&A session. So any questions you have directed to Mr. Paxton, would you like to answer? Any questions? Question. There you go. Go ahead, sir. If you can stand up so and sort of project your voice.
I'm not going to do that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, stand in front so we can see you on the Zoom.
Okay.
Stand in front, yeah, stand in front so we can see you on the Zoom. Okay, right in front, yeah, go forward, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, yes. Wonderful, good question. I may have a seat and I'm going to answer that for you. So the question from the gentleman, goodly gentleman, from where are you from? We're in roughly in the London itself or in London itself. So the question from the gentleman, your first name, sir? Michael. And how long you left Jamaica? 60 years ago. So Michael left Jamaica 60 years ago. And he's yes, too long. And he's asking how long. You might recall a speech from Martin Luther King, where he asked the question, how long? How long shall we wait for justice as a people? How long? And in that speech, Martin Luther King said, not long. And I would like to echo the same sentence. Because as long as we decide to make it, and as short as we decide to make it. Now the UIC is your part. UIC is your movement. When I conceived of the idea in 2012, December of 2012, I thought to myself, how long would it take for us to get there? We're now at 2023. Because I've been working at this since then. And now we're at this point where we have more than, well, when I just started, 1,300 persons signed document for us to become a movement. The ECJ, which is made up of the two parties, fought for a year to prevent us from becoming a party. We overcame, and we're now here. And we're still here because of the contributions of people like you. You're the ones that donate your £5, £10, £50, £100, £200, and all kinds of things for this to happen. Without you, the UIC can't exist because we are not funded or owned by the Venus and the oligarchs, and we do not intend to ever be. We shall be 100% owned and funded by you. You in the diaspora and you at home. And so as soon as you increase your support to the movement, it's as quickly as we will form the government. There's an election on the horizon. One will be here very shortly. The Constitution allows the Prime Minister to call it within a certain period of time. That period ends in the first 3 months of 2025. But based on history, they normally call it sometime a year or more before. So we're looking at 2024. But it can also be called tomorrow if the Prime Minister sees an opportunity that will favor him, like he did during the pandemic. He told us all that we should not gather. He locked us down. He locked down our economy. He locked down our schools. He caused us to suffer. But when he found it opportune in the middle of the pandemic, he called an election and caused us to go out and proud to go and vote so that he could take advantage of the moment to get a super majority in the House to carry on as he wishes. The time must come for us to take away that key from him and to rip up that constitution that allows him to do that and give ourselves a new and better Jamaica. Next question. Okay. Maybe you can probably help us. Maybe do we have any questions online?
Yes, I do have a question. But
Okay. There are some raised hands.
may I go or is it not appropriate? Okay.
Let's Mr. Cryptic.
Right. So my name is actually Damain, and I'm here in Kingston, Jamaica.
Yeah.
First and foremost, thank you so much. We've been needing another party to represent the people of Jamaica for so long. We are tired of the foolishness, the buffoonery of the JLP and the PNP. I know we have another party, the JPP, but they're a little bit neophytic. So, as most Jamaicans, we know it takes a little bit of time for them to get a foothold. You guys have been doing it for a little bit longer. You understand the structure of the political climate right now. I guess the substantive question is this. The last or previous time you guys ran, I know it's in 2019, I think, because I've been following the UIC for a little bit. So in 2019, you guys got registered as a formal political party, but I know that you, for instance, did make a push before for MP. The organization wasn't as strong as before. So my question is this. You guys tried. I think you didn't do so well the last time. What has the UIC done? Because we do need proper representation, but let's be clear about it. We have to have somebody that is able to stand on equal footing with the JLP and PNP, right? So what are some of the things that the UIC has done to kind of improve itself as an organization so that the people of Jamaica can stand behind this party? Because we need you guys. You don't even understand how much we need you right now. So what improvement has been done in the organization so the master Jamaican can buy into the UIC as a party?
Chase or Winston answer, and then you can find them. Winston or Chase, did you take that question?
Sorry, was there a request for me to take that question?
I'm asking, could you take that question that Victor just asked, and then Mr. Patson will come in at the end?
All right, am I heard?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right, thank you. All right, so the UIC has provided the structure for us to take government. So we have all that is necessary in terms of the party policies, the organization structure, and so forth. It is not so much as what we have done to improve our selves for the Jamaican people that makes you not see us out there much, and you're not hearing about us. It is what has been happening in terms of the media buyout. So people don't really hear about the UIC unless it's something that can discredit us or discredit the leader to kill the hope of Jamaicans. So we have implemented programs that have been representing Jamaicans on a number of issues that have arisen, such as the attempt to push out the residents of Lloydersville and evict them from their lands, and the fishermen and the Bob Marley Beach and so forth. We were there. We sent out invites to the media houses, but they have not turned up. So it's a deliberate ploy to keep us down. Also, when we connect with other organizations too, they fear the political backlash. So there's that. No, on another front though, and what also prevents many persons from buying into the UIC is that many people prefer to stay on the sidelines and watch Wagwan in Jamaican parlance. The UIC is primarily funded by the people, so it's members and supporters who actually fund the UICs. We don't get corporate backing. Because what we find is that corporations who want to back political parties have their own agenda and they want to determine the party's policies. In fact, in 2021, I think, when we were defending the rights of the people during the COVID-19 thing, I don't know if Mr. Patterson recalls that there was this guy who came in the group offering us 6 million US if we would stop talking about this COVID-19 injection, and we refused. So with the fact being that we don't get this backing from the corporate Jamaica, but it is the members and those who buy into UIC, a fraction of them really, who are supporting financially. We don't have the wherewithal as the other two main parties to be out and in front of your face, so you know what we're doing. So we have created structure, we have the policies, we have everything except the buy-in from the people, and that is because of the blockage on media that is orchestrated, and some persons' apathy toward politics because of what has been going on, so they are not as involved. But it is really us, we the people, who need to get involved as much as possible, give up our time and our donation to get this up there. I hope I answered your question sufficiently.
Yes, I think you have. But remember, when you answer this question, I'm going back to our organization to tell them what you have said. So thank you again. And we needed to hear what is substantive though, is where we can contribute. Right now, you're saying that it's just financially right now is the most that we can do. Is there anything else on a ground level that we can do to contribute?
Now, there are three things. There are three things we can all do to contribute to this movement. The first thing we must all do is to go on the website at uicjamaica.com and join. When you join, you signal to us that you want to be a part of the process of helping to build this movement. Second thing you need to do is to raise your hand and say, I'd like to volunteer. And volunteer comes in many forms. You can volunteer to spread the word. You can volunteer to organize a group. You can volunteer to do fundraising and a number of other things. And thirdly, you need to donate. Pay your membership dues, for example. It's only 1,000 Jamaican dollars per month or 2,050 Jamaican dollars a week. Nothing for most of us who are living in, I said, us, but those who are living in the UK and Canada and Jamaica, that's, the US, that's not much. Locally, 250 is not a lot either. So if we all contribute to that, I mean, many of you in the diaspora contribute $25 a month. Some contribute $10, some $50 a month. That's US dollars. So if we all contribute to the process, we'll have the fund. For example, the other day we wanted to do some all island tour. We have to wait the receiving of the money to do the tour. So we're saving towards, while other parties, they just want to go now, they just go. We have to wait and appeal and ask and hope that it comes in, and then we can go and do the tour. We've done 2 tours already on very low budgets, and those were so very effective in raising our profile, allowing us to reach more Jamaicans, increasing our membership base, and so on. So once we have the funding, we can do it. Yeah. The next question.
This question is from Paul. You can tell us your name and where you're from. You stand up and elevate your voice so they can hear you. Okay, thank you. You've had a recent meeting and part of the conversation that you had with you were discussing about having a coalition with another party to support your movement. What I can't remember that party. Did that actually take place? How are you catching that?
Sure. So right now, since 2018, the laws in Jamaica changed. Before, parties were just any group that came up and said they're a political party and organized themselves, roughly speaking, and say, you know, this is their name. And that process has held from the 1940s until now. A party never had to have any particular structure, any particular governing documents. In 2018, the government introduced new laws, which eliminated all political parties. And except for the two major ones, because they would have set the rules, so they automatically became political parties. So Jamaica, up until December 2nd, 2019, only had two registered political parties who would then qualify to participate in elections. We worked from 2018 to 2019 and became the first political movement to become the third registered political party, overcoming all of the obstacles to get there. Now, there are other parties or groups that were political parties that exist out there that we've always invited to join us, to let us work together. Now, that's not very easy because, you know, we are naturally divided. We don't really come together. The UIC, or name, United Independence Congress, was designed for the purpose of uniting all of the independent thinkers to come together. So when Ruta raised the question, it wasn't so much for the UIC because our policy has always been open arms to all the others. So we continue to await some kind of overture from the Marcus Garvey political group to join us. We are open, we're ready, and we're willing, but we can't force it. So we're waiting. I've always extended the olive branch for all the subgroups. In fact, the UIC is so non-partisan that we, in this process, these town halls, we've invited all the political parties, registered or unregistered. We've invited JLP and PNP. They're welcome. Come here and share. They could come and ask questions. They could come and give their views so that you can hear contending views. So far, they've not taken it up. We can't force them to do it. Next question. I would only be guessing. Yeah. Right. But while you and I see the benefits, sometimes persons, when we get involved in the political process, there are other reasons why we're involved. Politics is it's a get rich quick scheme in Jamaica. So for example, when you say a politician, a person join one or the other of the two parties, they normally join them knowing that this is going to be a ticket, a meal ticket. If you think about it, no well-informed, educated, smart person could ever join one of the two parties and hope to do anything more than what has been done so far. If you have seen 80 years of it, so if you choose to join the PNP or the JLP, it's because you see something other than what the rest of us see, because 80 years it doesn't work. Well, the UIC, of course, doesn't offer you anything except the chance to build your country. We're not offering you any opportunity to build the Jamaican people, because our model of governance, for example, when we win and we change the governance structure, the chance of ripping off Jamaica is gone. So some people will not find this appealing because if we win, they're willing to give power to the people of Jamaica. So that will really interest them. They want a party where when they win, they get a strong position. For example, in the current system, if you win for those parties, you can become a minister. If you become a minister, what do you get? From job, access to capital, and the ability to engage in all forms of corruption. But the UIC will what happened? Oh, we can't be a minister, then go and look for the most qualified person and put them in there. They're going to separate it now. So even though we get elected, we can't get to run the ministry, we can't get to the nothing. So some people wouldn't want that. They want to keep the status quo. That's why they joined the NP, and that's why they won't even join the UIC, because they want the opportunity to do what others have been doing for so long.
Let's have two things. Can we come back to that question? Okay, so there's somebody that have their hand up line. So if we go to Vince.
Hi, this is Ventus Brown speaking. My question, what are you frustrated with as to why there is a lack of openness? The people are not being invited to submit what proposals or recommendations they would like. And secondly, is it a situation that we are being fostered a constitutions, obviously private and property together, and then being told you must accept that. And are you frustrated?
Okay, good question. I am not frustrated. I would be surprised if they did otherwise. So what the government is doing right now, in terms of so-called constitutional reform, they're doing what I expected them to do. Here's the outcome that they're hoping. One outcome is that they frustrate us so much that we vote no. So when they come out with whatever concocted version they put before us and say, do you want to do this? Which would effectively mean, in a simplistic way, leaving the monarchy. Simplistic way, because you're not really leaving the monarchy. What you're doing is just changing the name. You're putting lipstick on the pig. So they are hoping for one of two outcomes. Outcome number one, a majority vote to say, no, we don't want that. So they say, see it, and then vote to stay with the monarchy. So they keep the system. Outcome number two, we'll vote yes, we want the foolishness that they bring before us, and they say, well, it worked out just the same. So for example, in Barbados, as they're now finding out, they have switched and they've gone to a republic, but now they're realizing, what not change at the same system. As a matter of fact, we have given more power to our local corrupt groups in the process. You understand? So they are going to win either way. The only way they lose is if the UIC's We the People campaign kicks up and kicks off, and we galvanize the people. You might recall in 2021, when I led the 500 people in Kingston against the mandates that they were trying to bring in, they had to back off. And so they were only able to juke about 20% of the people at the time. And 80% were spared at the time because of our action. Now, we did that with only 500 people and a few arrests. Okay? Just imagine now if we can rally the nation, much bigger number, and raise hell, and say, no, wait, we don't want your fraudulent constitution. We don't want your fraudulent referendum question. What we want is a real republic, and we will settle for nothing less than the UIC has given it to us. So you have two choices. Two choices. Choice number one, step aside and let the UIC take over. Or choice number two, take what the UIC is offering us and implement it. And I'd be happy to do that, because I would much rather enjoy a new Jamaica than spend my time fighting these political battles. But fight we must. Because if we don't fight, then we'll trick way again. Next question.
Go ahead.
So I was actually born here. I'm really proud of my heritage. Okay. They that my parents from America, and they that myself from America. That is imperative. So I've got two questions. Part of my concern is the perception of Jamaica. We have to change that. Before we actually hear about Jamaica now, or what makes use about crime, people in the sport, for example, not being seen properly, all that sort of thing. We have to change that. It must be affecting us. Yeah, and so we can live in the size of America. So we are doing what we can. When we actually see what's actually happening to Jamaica, and the country itself, the land, even frustrated, we've been powerless to bring about that change. We need a strong leader to bring about that change. Also, I can actually ask you guys too, is that what time, what okay.
Your first year in office, Peter, what is your main objective?
Thank you. Right. So I don't know if Winston wants to chime in on any of that. Let me know, Winston, if you want to jump in on answering any of this question. I'll answer the last part of your question first. What is my primary objective? I can tell you this. All I live for is the true liberation of Jamaica. There are three things that drives me in all of this. The first thing, when I think about what's happening in Jamaica, it's to unite the nation. We have been divided for too long. We have been divided, fight each other. I want to unite us around good governance. If you notice, I don't offer the pie in the sky ideas because I believe the core problem in Jamaica is bad governance. And if I can just get the Jamaican people to realize the value, not of hearing like, we're going to give you free food and free this and free that, but the value of good governance, how precious that is. How having a governance structure that will ensure that the taxes we collect actually goes to the areas that is going to improve, that are going to improve the nation, whether it be education, infrastructure, healthcare, but having a system that ensures the money we collect goes to the thing and not get siphoned off. So if we have good governance, and if we can just unite around that, forget about whatever else you want to call it, just unite around good governance. So unity is number one. The second thing that drives me in all of this is liberation. I want Jamaica to be the first truly liberated African nation on the planet, where we have true freedom, true liberty, where every man, woman, and child will have the opportunity to realize their full potential, because we don't have laws and regulation designed secretively or otherwise to suppress us in any way. To free up the small and micro enterprises, to give our young entrepreneurs a chance to succeed because they're allowed to do so. The capital is available to them. The environment in which they operate is such that they can achieve and they can compete with the best of the rest of the world. So that's number two, first unity, second liberty. The third element that I am driven by is empowerment. The way to empower our people is through education, but not just any education. We have to have a special type of education, Rosemary King. We have to have an education system that respects our Afrocentricness, first of all. So it has to be one that makes us proud of who we are. It helps us to understand ourselves, understand each other, how to build good and solid relationships, and we must understand the money, economics, how to build solid economic. And you know how they came here and enslaved us? They formed a corporation. And they got investors. And they came here with capital, with one commitment, subjugate and enslave. Now we too must understand economics and form cooperation with one objective, to take back where I'm feeling. Every building you see here in this land that is more than a few years old was built on the blocks of slavery. All the gold that you see them talking about, all the wealth that is being moved around the world, the very monarchy that you see sitting there, they sit on the seats of our people. The wealth they now enjoy intergenerationally came from extracting the labor and the land of our people, and they still doing it to this day. For example, one last one. You look at bauxite mining in Jamaica. What's going on with bauxite mining? What have they done? We, our leaders, have given away our limited amount of land. Our limited amount of land, they have allowed foreign powers to come and rape that land. When they rape the land, what do they leave behind? Toxins. They pollute our air, they pollute our water, and they pollute our soil. That's our life. If you're polluting our air, our water, and our soil, And you're taking away soil that is non-replenishable. That is unsustainable. And when they finish, they will leave us in a desolate state with the deformity for children, or animals, or fish, or water. And we will know how to subsist on that. Yes, my friends, we're happy. We must rise up now. We cannot let down Nanny. We cannot let down Sharp. We cannot let down Wogo. We cannot let down Marcus Garvey. We cannot let down ourselves and our children and our grandchildren. Now is the time. Now is the time for us to say, even if you're 100 years old, even if you're on your last breath, you must say, listen, I am going to stand up now and stand fast and make sure that the UIC forms the government and gives us a truly free and fair Jamaica. We can do it. We'll just do it.
Mr. Patterson, we have questions in the chat section. Okay, so the first question is from Mrs. Janet De Pass Brown. Is there a support group here in England I can get involved in?
Absolutely. She can reach out to our UK ambassador, Ms. Rosemary King, right here, and she will lead you in the process to help create the UK diaspora group. We have a group right now, and you can join that group and work with the diaspora group here to build up the UIC. We have a very strong group in Canada. Big shout out to Miss Emma Gordon. She's the best. Sorry, she's the best ambassador we have out there. She's #1 right now, and Rosemary's going to come in second soon. So you have to get up here and match Miss Gordon. But she's doing well over here in Canada, and we have the US group is working right now. I think with Miss what's her name, Laika, our good lady. My goodness, no. She's chairing the finance committee, forgive me. What's her name again?
Lisa Abdul.
Lisa Abdul. So Lisa Abdul is kicking up a storm, getting ready for the New Jersey event that we're putting on. So yeah, thank you. Next question. Quickly, go ahead. You're here. One second, you can. One quick question. Go ahead. That's good governance. And that's good governance. Yes. When you have good governance, you have accountability, you have transparency, you have all the structures for proper checks and balances. You can't go wrong. Focus on good governance, people. We can't go wrong if we focus on good governance. Yeah. We have failed them. We have failed them. We have failed it. We have failed Haiti. We have failed St. Lucia. We have failed Barbados. We have failed Trinidad. We have failed Africa. I mean, but Africa looked to us. Africa looked to us. A little powerful Jamaica. And I believe we can lead Africa. If we get it right here in Jamaica, if we get our governance model and let the world look, hey, what we're talking about here, this model, what we have done in reggae, what we have done in trap, is what we're about to do in politics. We're going to give the world a governance model that's going to shock them. Absolutely. All right. So go ahead, Jamaica. So what we're going to do is the person who wants to get the UK diaspora, please put in the group UIC's email address so they can email and say, I want to be a part of the UK diaspora group. Or if you're in the US, you want to be a part of the US diaspora group, or Canada, just send an email or go on our website and just send a message and we'll link you up with the group. Okay?
Okay.
All right, go ahead, Naika.
Yeah, this other question is from Antoine Brooks. He's saying a couple days ago, Jamaica Observer report on an article gender role, and that experiment is going to be done at UA. What measures will be put in place, or what measures will be taken rather, by the UIC to stop this and the destruction of the youths?
Yeah, it's a very good question. It requires a very nuanced answer because there are a lot of things involved here. But here's the fundamental thing. We have to make sure we protect our people and our children from any ideas that's going to confuse them. And this idea of not being clear about what your gender is confusion at its best and disruption at its worst. Their goal is truly to undermine our people and to undermine the world and to make us to stand against it. But we have to pick our battles carefully, by the way. And we have to make sure that our first focus is on liberating Jamaica. They can take anything we say and twist it and turn it anyway and pick a fight with us. Our fight is for good governance. If we win, UIC liberates us and liberates the country. Let's not go off on these tangents and fight with these people unnecessarily. What the EU is doing, they're wrong. It is unhealthy. It is the wrong direction to go. And the UIC stands resolutely in opposition to that direction. Next question.
This one is from Orville Bennett. Given the fact that funding is key to the party's growth, which may ultimately impact your participating in the next general election, do you have a strategic and targeted geographic seats to reach to win every critical seat at the polls, should you find yourself in a position not being able to fill each candidate seat?
The answer is yes, we do. Rosemary King has a question.
And it's around similar to the
Oh, okay.
So my question was, how many seats does the UIC need to stop the NP and the JLP? How confident are you feeling in getting these seats?
All right, very good question. Now, I can tell you this. If the UIC wins one seat, we disrupt the system. And in the coming election, we're going to have very likely a close election. Close meaning both sides, the other two parties, will win roughly the same number of seats. And we've had that in the not the last election, but the one before. We were separated by about 3 or 2 seats between them. There are 63 seats in the House. Now, just imagine a situation where one wins 31, the other one wins 31, and we win 1. Neither of them would be able to form. Well, just imagine if we win 2, or 3, or 4. And so the bottom line is they don't have to win every seat. They don't have to win a majority of seats. They just need to win 1 or more seats. And so our goal in the next election is to win 1 or more seats. Now, my constituency, Northeast Central, where I live with the people. I work with the people. I'm a man of the people. In my constituency, in Northeast Central Elizabeth, we're going to win that seat. Yeah, and our chairman lives in Westmoreland, in Becker Town, and we're going to win that seat. And the General Secretary lives in Edgewater, and Catherine, we're going to win that seat. Our VP, Case Leader, lives in St. Mary, and we're going to win that seat. Our VP, Dr. Rowan Johnson, he lives in St. Andrew, we're going to win that seat. What? Oh, yes, there are many people there. So we are going to, we have Mr. Garth Barnett, and he is in Kingston, and we're going to win a seat here soon. So we are, the only thing that can stop us from winning a seat is you. The two parties can't stop us, they can't stop us. It's only we, the people, who can stop us from winning. Because if we get behind these candidates, if we fund their campaign like they've never funded anything before, then we can take back our country. $1, £1, 1 pence at a time. We can do it. Next question.
Your voice is quite low, so. To me.
I hope I can answer it. Uh-huh. How many? First one was in Jamaica. Yes.
No.
No. It's a series of town hall meetings that are happening in different countries. So the next one's in Grenada. Yeah. Yes.
The audio is very low, Mr. Patterson.
On what, sir? Oh, okay. Good question. Thank you. Come close, like I can't hear you online, please. Here. Yes.
So, yes, we don't take consent very serious. The big problems. We like to dance and to that low.
I think those are here are taking it very seriously, which is why.
So let me interrupt you for a second. What's your name, sir? What? Pepakai. Sit down for a second. Pepakai as expert. I want you to hear what he's saying. He's wondering if we are prepared to save ourselves, because so few of us have shown up for such an important event. But he prefaced that by saying that even when he heard about the UIC, he was wondering if the money are really serious. And our people have been let down so many times that I can't blame any one of us for being skeptical. I'm skeptical of anybody who comes as a politician. That's why I call myself a public servant. I don't like the idea of politicians. So I understand the skepticism. We have been tricked, bamboozled, let down for so long that we don't know if we can even trust anymore. We don't know who to trust, we don't know why to trust. And that's why the UIC, when we built it, was built even internally on a solid constitution for ourselves that allows us to truly own and operate with this movement. So when SE, the gentleman like Mr. Pepper Kai comes along and said, I want to join and help build this movement. Our constitution allows for that. When back in 2020, early 2022, I think it was, I was challenged for the leadership of the UIC, not properly, not through the normal process. I was challenged for it by covert attempts to undermine from within. And somebody said to me, a gentleman who is now running for the other party, he came, he joined the UIC, and he said, I see what you're doing, and I believe in it, and I think it can work. But you have to do one thing, he said. You see what just happened? You have to change the constitution so that nobody can run against you, and you remain the leader until you have been elected and got this thing off and everything. And I said to him, no, that's not the way the UIC is designed. I will be the leader of the UIC for as long as the members decide so. So we must not from the beginning design a system that embraces any form of dictatorship or any form of nepotism or any form of bad governance. Struggle we must, hardship we must face and overcome, but we must not use those hardships and difficulties as a basis for disenfranchising anyone. So the UIC will have a leader, a president, that the majority of members elect, and any leader that the majority does not want as leader anymore, the same majority must have the full freedom to remove him or her. And so the system is designed for us. It is my gift to Jamaica. I spent the last 11 years now working on this, and I'll be so proud if the UIC is elected, whether or not I'm the president. I will serve in any position and in any capacity for us to realize this mission. And if any one of you wish to do the same, then this is the partner for you. Yes,
Okay, so we'll take another question online and we'll come back to the floor. Go ahead, Marika.
All right, this is from Mr. Andrew Henry. Do you have representatives for South Manchester, councillor or MP?
No, we're looking for a candidate right now, so please feel free to nominate yourself or somebody to run. We're looking for somebody for that division and constituency.
Yeah, that's about it for questions here. It's mostly comments afterwards.
Okay, I saw a question though from a gentleman who was asking for, I think he's repeating the comment and he wants an answer to it. It's a question about, what was it about? It's I couldn't read it clearly, but I think he's adamant that he wants an answer. Would you please, I think it's Orville Bennett, his name is. He says, in fairness, I think I see here. He says, in fairness, let me get it here. Can you help me with that, Naika? Go ahead and read it for me.
Sure. In fairness, Mr. Patterson, no third party has ever been taken seriously by the Jamaican electorate. No single seat has ever been won by such a party. So the people, the electorate has let down the Jamaican people, not the third party or its representatives.
Okay. I beg to differ, and that is why history is so important. At the first election, you might not know this, at the very first election we had in 1944, let me backtrack a bit. The PNP was formed in 1938. The JLP is a breakaway from the PNP, and they came about in 1942. Okay. The first election that we had was held in 1944. And the PNP, which was the first of those two parties, failed to win, and more independent candidates were elected than PNP candidates. Most Jamaicans don't know that. So the Jamaican people were thinking from back then. The JLP won that election. Since then, what has happened? As the plantocracy or the PSOJ oligarchy redoubled their efforts with money and support for these two parties, they effectively marginalized and pushed out independence. What does an independent need to win? Back in the 1940s, it could have simply been talking to people and it's all new. As time goes on, it's about who has the most money to buy advertisement, to buy food or go to rum. Yeah. To buy t-shirts and caps and armbands and the whole fun events and all kinds of stuff. So that's what wins elections in Jamaica. We're at the place now where 2/3 of the nation have given up on the electoral process. 2/3 and have stepped aside. So now it's the hardcore tribalists who are electing one or the other. There's a small sliver of person who will sway based on whatever freebies is given. And so between the two bases, you can switch to one or switch to the other. But the majority of Jamaicans are not involved. Now, they have not let down themselves. We're talking about in 62, a largely uneducated population, illiterate for the most part, can't even sign their names, the majority in 1962. Today, having seen the process, many people have just given up. You can't blame them because they don't see how they have the power to change. We know, the best of us, have to come together and give them hope again. So it will take a small number of us to light the flame and cause the rest to wake up. But we have to do it. We can't just say because the vast majority don't jump and it's over and them bad and wicked. No, they're depending on a Marcus Garvey. Jesus started with 12. And so we can do the thing. Look at the work of Nani. Let me tell you something about Nani, what I really appreciate. And there are many stories, but I want to share this with you, just so you kind of get a flavor of who I am as a person as well. Nani is the first female general, army general. They don't teach it that way in our books in school. They teach it like some witch and some all kind of stuff. But if you think about it, a woman in a man's world leading an army against the best equipped armies, and managed to bring them to the point where they felt it was necessary to enter into a treaty. A woman, a young woman in a man's world. And when you look at the work of a Samshar, he was so committed that he could say when they were hanging, I would rather die on yonder gallows than live in slavery. That is the spirit that we must have. And if a small number of us have it, we'll light a little flame, a little spark, it will blaze up, then go out the whole nation. Let's burn down the system by inspiring our people. Yes. Next question, Naika, if any. Okay, one here. Come on.
I think it's very sharp.
Yeah.
There's a lot of
Yes.
this guy, what I said, the jail, well established part of the jail wins 25 seats in the next election. The wins 25 the next 13 outstanding, wins that. So, 25 as an outcome, isn't it?
Yes.
So, which side will you swing on with the next election? How they're going to government?
Very good question. Very good question. I have an answer for you that. I have an answer for you. If in the next election we have what is called a parliament, meaning neither of the two of the traditional sides can form the government. And the UIC will be called into action. They're going to come to us, and each side will try to go ahead and grind with this so we can form the government. My answer, if I am the leader of the UIC at that time and one of the parliamentarians, will be very simple. Whichever of you will make me the prime minister, I will join with you. It's that simple. Because when I'm the prime minister, I would be the one based on the current system to decide who are the ministers of government. And I'll be appointing the 13 senators. What does that mean? It means that I will have the infrastructure to push forward the UICs. Yeah. Let's make it happen.
In terms of our party handbook,
Yes.
that the court of
Yes.
any other they
Yes.
well, you keep on going, probably they have a lot that most of the breach that yes, they're the people the like, but we'll keep on the party.
Very good. We have what is called a National Executive Council, which is obligated to remove anyone, elected or not, from the party, especially from leadership or candidacy, who does not reflect the values, the vision and mission of the organization. So even if you're not elected and you are a senior member, executive member, and you're not in keeping with those, the NEC will remove you. However, you can dispute that you are dispute resolution committee, and go there and make your case, and they too are obligated to ensure that if you're not in keeping with the values and vision and mission and policies, then you're removed. Okay. All right. Online. Any more questions online? Ms. Williams.
Yes, there is. Maybe you can respond to this comment first. This is from Orville Taylor saying, the comment that really warranted a response from Mr. Patterson was the topic of UIC's seat will was the topic of one UIC seat will disrupt the ruling party. I differ. Maybe 5 to 10 seats will have a meaningful impact.
Well, just imagine what will happen even outside of Parliament if after the next election, for the first time in recent history, the last 60 years, the Jamaican people elect somebody other than the two major parties. It gives us a microphone. It gives us standing in the Parliament. It allows us time to respond to issues in the Parliament, and to do so, we could not be ignored by the media anymore. Because now we have to be asked, we have to be responded to, because we can now address the issues as an elected representative of the people. So just having one seat gives us the authority and gives us access to the microphone to speak out on the issues of the Jamaican people. In fact, if we win one seat, I guarantee you by the next election we'll win a majority. Just because of our access now to be able to speak to the Jamaican people in ways we could not do now, because they're able to limit us. Yeah. But one seat is enough to make a difference, and anything more than one seat will be earth-shattering. Earthquake. All right, next question, Ms. Williams.
This is from Mrs. DePass Brown. What about the talk of coalition with the Marcus Garvey Party, which was mentioned on Mota Baruka's show?
Right, as I mentioned earlier on, we're still waiting for the Marcus Garvey group to reach out to us. We have reached out to them, and the invitation remains open. It has always been open for not just the Marcus Garvey group, but all the others. And the good thing about it is the UIC core values are 100% aligned with Marcus Garvey. So if you're a member of the Marcus Garvey group, the UIC is your home.
Okay, no other questions on this side.
Question on from the floor.
What would the UIC do to overcome wrong in terms of how Marcus Garvey was portrayed and prosecuted? Your team, especially before Julius Garvey's transition, and secondly, what would the UIC do to recruit and retain young people from the diaspora that's are needed to build Jamaica?
All right. Great question. So the question was, one, what will we do to truly exonerate Marcus Garvey on the world stage? And two, how are we going to engage young people and so for them to build movement even further than we are now? Well, it's very simple. When we take office, we're going to set the record straight on Marcus Garvey. And we're also going to set the record straight on what was done to him by the leaders of the leaders. And we're going to set the record so straight that our textbooks and our historical books and records will fully reflect this. So it's time to make people to know the truth. And one of the policies of the UIC is to have what is called a Truth and Reconciliation Commission, where we're going to get to the bottom of many things. This included, as well as the crime situation, we need to understand once and for all that for the last 80 years, we have been electing 2 criminal gangs to run our government. And I know we're laughing, but it's a serious matter because you're talking about 2 organizations that have engaged in organized crimes of some epic proportion. When an organization gives gun and ammunition to young men, when an organization provides funding to gang leaders in government contracts, when an organization provides legal cover for criminals to continue transshipment of drugs and money, that must be exposed and documented and recorded so that posterity must know. Yes, and then they must be held accountable. So I'm going to give them a chance to come clean and avoid paying the ultimate price, or we're going to lead a process of prosecuting and convicting and punishing each and every one of those that we can find to punish. We're now going to get the young people involved, but letting them know that the UIC is not about truth, it's about facts, and it's about freedom. And every young person who wants the opportunity to achieve their maximum potential honestly, without fear, without favor, without worrying about nepotism preventing them from getting what they justly earned through a meritocratic system, will say, this is the party for me. It's hard because their minds have been corrupted. They believe in the kind of politics that our colonial masters have fed us. And now we have to unprogram ourselves and unprogram them and get them enlisted in the battle for truth, for freedom, and justice.
Okay, we've come to the end of our meeting.
Sure.
Almost come to the end. I've got more talking about UIC, but I'm really not much more about it. It's the first that I've been, and I just listen to it. Your background before, prior to 2012, when you decided to set this up, and what led to you setting this up?
Great question. It's a good thing we took the last question because, like, you remember the story of Jesus and the wine, eh? And they run out of wine and he turned water into wine. And they asked, why is the best wine for the last? So that's what happened here. We're getting the best wine for the last. Now, okay, a little about me, right? I was born to a single mother of three. I had three children, Michelle, David, and me. She never got further than the 9th grade in school. Very hard worker, really, industrious. But she gave all of her life to Michael Manley's vision and the PNP. She truly believed in what he was trying to do. And as a little picnic, I was her watch lady, the last one. She carried me everywhere she went. So I went to the women movement meetings. I went to the national arena. I went on her errands to go and sign up people to vote and to get registered. I went to the Jamal. She taught Jamal. Uneducated as she supposedly was, she was well read in her own right. She taught Jamal to help other adults learn how to read and write. So I have watched my mother working tirelessly to bring about what she wanted, a just Jamaica. She felt that the people were denied what was rightfully theirs, and she fought for it. When I got to 18 years old, she says, I'm home to vote. Of course, you know, I'm going to vote for. And I said, no, Mom, I can't vote PNP. She said, what? You're going to vote Labour? I said, no, Mommy, I can't vote Labour. And everything at all. So what's happening? I said, here, Mom, what I observe is that the system we have here has divided us, and we're fighting each other instead of fighting for each other. And so for that reason, I cannot vote PNP or GLP. There must be a better way. From then until now, I've been looking for that better way. I found it after careful examination in December of 2012. And here what happened. Prior to that, I returned to Jamaica after living in Canada. So I worked in Canada all the way up to Director of Finance in the government. And I decided I wanted to come back home. My wife would tell you the day we got married, and I left shortly after because she was Canadian before me. We went to school together. I married her from Metro grade 8. We got married right after college. And so I said to her, okay, I live in Canada because you want me to come to Canada because, you know, prefer that healthcare system and all of that. So I went, but the moment I landed in Canada, I was already looking back to return to Jamaica. So in 2011, we returned. And I spent 2 years studying what's going on. And I said, you know what? Jamaica has no hope in these two parties. There is no way they will ever do. I said, they're too steeped in corruption. They cannot come out of this. They're anchored in it. And so I spent the time now with all of my knowledge, because I've traveled the world by then. I've been to China, I've been to Myanmar, I've been to England, of course, Canada, US, you name it. And so I've seen all these countries and what they're doing and learned. And I'm a student of history, so I study a lot of history. I want to understand how things go, why this happened. And so when I came back to Jamaica and I looked again now at my country, and I left when I was about 23 years old, and I come back and I look at it, I say, what I left and what I see now is degradation. And so I was now committed to doing all that I can to change the system. And so the next 10 years led to what we have here today. Yes. Thank you.
I'd like to thank everybody for coming to so this is not really a town hall.
It is a town hall. We're here to gather.
It's very nice. Thank you all for coming and those who joined us online.
Come to join the team.
Yes,
Way to the crown. Way to the
Here you go, and then see. Then we can see some of the-
It's twice I've actually been to Jamaica, and it's happened to be Christmas. And I've met Mr. Passington twice, and today is the third time for a meeting. And two occasions that I've been down, I met him coming out of court. And the last time I met him at the inaugural meeting in Clarendon. Because the journey, I know this man is blessed, but at the same time, as you see, there are a few of us. But those who are here tonight were chosen for whatever reason. My elder there, Pepperpie, he's been my mentor from Head Start when it comes to an Africanism, those kind of things. And even today, the circumstantial that he's actually here. His voice is silent, but he's a very deep person. Yeah. I've got a brother over there is from St. Thomas. Yeah. So we only met today. We've only met today. Right. Yeah. But the task that you have is immense. Yeah. And the team that is here, the Garvey Village. Yeah. That young lady there, she shared the same name as Morrison. Yeah. No, we met burning the fire in the woods, drumming. Yes, oftentimes here we keep saying to you, you just have to play the drums. New occasions I've been to Jamaica, taken my drums. Yeah, so we're dealing with ancestral things and left through your vibrations. As I said when I met you, but when we met, nothing's going to be the same. I did say to that when he was coming out of court. Yeah, so
I'm not sure.
What you see here is your team. This is your team.
I'll come back.
Yeah, as you saw when
I leave the work.
Yeah, so we're gonna just wind down, but thank you. Yeah, thank you. So be strengthened.
Thank you all. Let me just do a quick shout out to my wife. Charlotte Rosado Patterson, she's on the live. I don't know if she's in a position to turn on the camera. But she is the reason I'm able to do all of this. Without her, it would not be possible. And we've been married now for 29 years. And I tell you, I mean, thank you, Charlotte, for everything that you do and for all the help that you provide. And I pray that you will have the patience to continue to put up with me and holding up my hand. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes, I'll finish up with what I started. I just want to thank everybody for being here and also the team in Jamaica who's made this possible, the link up to be made possible. Yes, everybody really it's been an honor to finally meet yeah, one Jamaica, stronger together. And look out for the next town hall.
It's going to be in Toronto on the 27th, is it the 21st? The next town hall meeting is on the 21st in Toronto, Canada. And I know the team is busy working on that. So see you in Canada soon. I'm heading there after this. Okay. Yes. All right. Thank you, guys. Thank you.